Welcome back to the channel, boys. Fabloonski's coming at you next with this Mantle of Battle Harmony build 3.0. We're making a third version of this build because it now works with Stasis due to the fact that we got a Stasis sidearm this season, Cryosthesia. I am so happy that this exotic works with Stasis because, as you guys already can tell by all the Stasis videos I put out, I love using Stasis so much. It's my favorite subclass in the game. Now I can use Mantle of Battle Harmony, which is a super spam. Plus, after you get your super, you get a damage buff to Stasis weapons. Absolutely love this exotic, and the fact that it now works with Stasis, I'm in love. So let's go ahead and break this build down. So obviously we're going to use Shadebinder. We're using our cold snap grenades because it instantly freezes. As for our aspects, we're using ice flare bolts, so that way I can keep freezing more targets upon shattering one target. It also works with Cryosthesia, so even if you freeze an enemy with the new sidearm, the ice flare bolts will spawn from that frozen enemy that you froze with the sidearm. We're also using Glacial Harvest, so I can spawn those stasis shards and get some melee energy. As for my fragments, I'm using Whisper of Torment, so I get grenade energy upon taking damage. We're also using Whisper of Refraction, so I get class ability energy whenever I defeat a slowed or frozen target. We're also using Whisper of Hunger, one of the new fragments this season. Increases the melee energy you get from picking up the stasis shards. It does take away a little bit from my mobility and recovery, but that's okay. I still have 100 recovery and I don't care about mobility at all. Now we're also using Whisper of Bonds. Defeating frozen targets grants you super energy. It takes a little bit away from discipline and intellect, but that's alright because I have many other ways to make up for that. But the fact that I get more super energy for defeating frozen targets is insane. It works perfectly for this build. As for my loadout, there's a little bit of flexibility with your special and your heavy weapon, but for your main source of damage, we're going to use Cryosthesia, the new stasis sidearm added to this season. It is an exotic. Now, in case you guys don't know how this gun works, I'll just go over it really quick. Variable trigger, press and release to fire an individual shot. Hold to fire a charge shot when liquid cooling is active. Now here's a liquid cooling trait. Final blows with this weapon enable a charge shot for a short duration. Targets hit by the shot are instantly frozen at the cost of the weapon's entire magazine. Now for this build, you don't have to have a mass work, but I went through the grind and it changes the way this weapon works completely. Let's go over the mass work really quick. Shattering a frozen target refills this weapon's magazine from reserves. Now if you notice, it just says shattering a frozen target. It doesn't say frozen targets frozen by this weapon or anything like that. Just any frozen target that you shatter will refill this weapon from reserves. So you can use obviously the sidearm to freeze an enemy with it and then shatter it with your melee or a different weapon. You can also use your grenade. You can shoot some rounds with your sidearm, use your grenade, shatter the frozen targets, and boom, it'll refill the magazine. You can use your melee, freeze them, refill the magazine by shattering the frozen targets. There's so many ways. You can even use the gun itself, freeze an enemy, shoot the gun, and it'll refill it while you're defeating the frozen target. It is insane. I feel like I literally never have to reload with this weapon, which I'll get to in a second. I do have a reload mask or reloading perk on, Jesus Christ, but I feel like I don't even need it. I just have it on there just in case because you literally don't ever have to reload with this new masterwork. Now I personally just went with a first and last out all loading demolitionist. I liked having a weapon with demolitionist on it because just in case I need to get my grenade back, I can do so with the demolitionist on a shotgun. It's like one hit kill pretty much, so I can get my grenade very fast. And then we got auto loading cluster bombs code Duello. Now as for my stats, we got 18 mobility, we got 30 resilience. Now we have 100 recovery. Of course, this governs how fast you get your health back, as well as the Warlock's Rift. Now you don't have to have 100 recovery for this build. Let's say if you want to have maybe 100 discipline, or maybe you want to have a little bit higher intellect, that's okay. I just like having 100 recovery because I feel like getting your health back is very important, and for the Warlocks, getting your Rift back is very important. Now we also have 80 discipline. Of course, I have other ways that's going to make this higher, so I feel like 80 was okay, plus just the way that my armor was rolled, this is as high as I was able to get. Now I have 8 intellect. This is probably the lowest it can possibly be. Don't worry though, I have other ways to make up for this, but 8 is my intellect stat. So, but there's other ways. I have Mantle Battle Harmony, I have Fonts of Wisdom on, so there's other ways I'm gonna make up for this. And then we have 51 strength. And I just want to say real quick, although my intellect is 8, I'm going to spam my super pretty frequently with this build, actually very frequently with this build. So just because it says 8, don't you worry, there's so much super spam going on for having such a low intellect stat. So let's go ahead and jump to our mods now. I'm only going to go over the important ones. I'm just going to try and see if I can cut out some of the not important mods. So right now we're using double hands on mods, gain bonus super energy on melee kills, Now, if you want to use your ammo finders, you can, but I'm not really going to worry too much about having that much ammo because a lot of my ad clear is going to come from melee, grenades, and Cryosthesia. So whenever I get a melee kill with the Penumbra Blast, I'm going to get bonus super energy, plus Whisper Bonds defeating frozen targets going to give me more super energy. Now we also have elemental armaments. Weapon takedowns with a damage type that matches your subclass element have an escalating chance to spawn an elemental well. Now since I'm using a stasis sidearm, the more kills I get with it has a higher chance to spawn a stasis elemental well. I pick that up, I become charged with light, and I proc Font of Wisdom. So I like having this, and I like the fact that it does work with the new sidearm. I'm so happy that it works. On my gauntlets, we got impact induction. Causing damage with a melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. This is one way that I'm gonna make up. I mean, I have pretty high discipline already, but I want to be able to have my grenade up as frequently as possible. Now we do have Sidearm Loader. Now I was touching on this a little bit ago. I feel like I never really have to reload my sidearm. So let's say that if you don't really want to use elemental charge, what this does is whenever you pick up an elemental well, especially if it's one that matches your subclass element type, you get 2 stacks of charge of light. If you don't like using this mod, you can always get rid of this and then put on maybe taking charge. Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea because all your weapons will be masterworked. I mean, if you want to masterwork Cryosthesia, I highly recommend it. But I was spawning a lot of orbs of power, so I feel like I could have used this. I just have this on just because in the gameplay footage I have elemental charge on, so I'm not going to change it. But if you want to get rid of this, you can maybe put Unstoppable Sidearm in case there's any unstoppable champs, and then use Taking Charge here. It wouldn't be a bad idea either. And onto my exotic piece of choice, we're using Mantle of Battle Harmony. I absolutely love this exotic. It came to us last season, Season of the Chosen. Let's just go ahead and go over the armor perk that comes with it. Absorption Cells. Takedowns with weapons that have a damage type matching your subclass element grant you super energy. While your super energy is full, you instead gain a temporary bonus to weapon damage of that type matching your subclass element. So this works perfectly with Cryosthesia because it is a stasis sidearm. So I do proc absorption cells using the sidearm. I think next season we're getting like legendary stasis weapons. I'm not too sure though, but that's what they said. Hopefully they're legendary, not just exotic stasis weapons, which would kind of suck. I mean, it would be what it is. But I just hope that there's legendary stasis weapons. But for right now, we only have Cryosthesia, this perk, so I'm very happy. You get so much super energy as long as you're using the sidearm. Then you're freezing enemies with Whisper Bonds, you're getting bonus super energy. Using your melee, getting kills with that gives you bonus super energy. So it's a lot of fun. I get a lot of super energy using this exotic. Now the most important mod I do have on my chest piece is Energy Converter. While Charge of Light, using your grenade attack grants you super energy, consuming all stacks of Charge of Light. The more stacks you have, the more energy you gain, up to a maximum of 50% of your super energy. It does take away a little bit of discipline, but I also have on Glacial Inheritance. So Glacial Inheritance with Energy Converter, I pretty much can get like half my super back. Then all the other super bonus super energy I'm going to be generating with this exotic, with melee kills with Whisper Bonds, I get a lot of super energy with this build. On my legs, we're using double innervation mods. Reduce grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. Now just in case I don't have my grenade back, I can just pick up a few orbs to get my grenade back. Also have a demolitionist weapon, and then whenever I take damage I get grenade energy. Plus I already have a pretty high discipline stat. I want to be able to have my grenade available as much as possible, and especially when I use my super, I can throw my grenade and get the super energy from Energy Converter. We're also using Font of Wisdom. Picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants a temporary significant increase to your intellect, improving the recharge rate of your super. Now I believe that this gives like 50 intellect, so right now, like I said, I have 8 intellect on my total, like all my stats I have 8 intellect. So picking this up, or picking up an elemental well rather, with this mod on, gives me plus 50 intellect for 30 seconds. So having that available, or having that on rather, is going to increase my super gain. I'm going to get a lot of super energy from Mantle Battle Army and all the other ways I just stated. So having this is just a nice little cherry on top. And on my Warlock bond, we have Glacial Inheritance. This is a mod just for this season. Hopefully it comes back next season. So let's say that this mod doesn't come with the next season, or if it just goes away completely. What I would do for this build is then use 5 stacks of Charge of Light and Energy Converter, so whenever I use my super, as soon as it's done, I just throw my grenade and I get some super energy, about half of it back. That's one substitution or one alternative way, just in case Glacial Inheritance does not come back. But as for this mod, defeating targets with your stasis super refunds super energy. It gives about like a little over a fourth of it back, so using this paired with Charged Up allows for 1 additional stack of Charge of Light, so I can have 3 stacks of Charge of Light and an Energy Converter. As soon as my super is done, I get a little bit of super energy, I use my grenade, and I get the rest, like about half of my super energy back. and then I just use Mantle Battle Harmony to get stasis kills, defeat frozen targets, melee kills, and all that, and I get my super very, very quickly. And as for my Warlock fashion, I really wanted to match like the lights right here in Mantle Battle Harmony. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's like underneath this little thing right here. I wanted to match all the lights on it, so I used these helmets. Actually, I'll just go to that little screen real quick. So I used, you know, the Solstice hood, since it has the light glowing on it, the arms as well, and the bond. And the legs, I use the Virtuous boots because of this little glow right here. Here are all my shaders. So I think it looks very nice with the black. It's a kind of like dark gray, almost black with gold and the blue lights. Like the blue lights kind of almost match the color of Stasis, which is why I did it. So if you guys want to recreate this fashion, you can pause the screen and there you go. Now you have all my fashion pieces. So I think I literally say this after every single one of my builds, but this might become one of my new favorite builds. I already love Mantle Battle Harmony before it worked with Stasis. The fact that using an element type that matches your subclass element was really interesting to me. It gives you super energy, and then once your super is full, it gives you damage buffs. I find that very fascinating. Now that it works with Stasis and we got the Cryosthesia, which that gun masterworked, it is so much better. Like, wow, I didn't think that the masterwork would really do that much for it, but it's insane. Like, it frees with your melee, it frees your grenade refills the magazine. Even if you use the melee or the freeze from the gun, you switch to your like a shotgun or a sniper, shatter the frozen target, and then boom, your sidearms refilled. Like, it's literally like having auto loading holster, except you can proc it when it's in your hands. Like, that's fantastic to me. It makes the sidearm so much better, and the fact that it now is synergized with Mantle Battle Harmony, like, oh my god. I really wasn't that much of a fan of sidearms to begin with. I like brass attacks from last season as well, but now Cryosthesia, like, this might be my new favorite sidearm just for the fact that it works with Stasis, and I love Stasis, as you guys already know. Now, it's kind of hard to show off this build in like a couple minutes of gameplay because you can get tons of super with this build, and you have to really see like the whole gameplay session. I mean, you can kind of see it a little bit with this gameplay, but the fact that I have, what was it, 8 intellect on this build and I'm getting this much super spam is just insane. That goes to show how powerful Mantle Battle Harmony is, as well as Whisper Bonds and all the other ways I'm generating super energy and Glacial Inheritance. Although if that goes away, like I said earlier in the video, you want to use 5 stacks of energy converter, or maybe even 4, and then maybe like Font of Wisdom like I have on, and then some other ways. I don't know, I'll figure it out if it ever does go away. But now, since Glacial Inheritance is in the game for right now, hopefully it comes back next season, I'm gonna take full advantage of that. Now, like I said earlier in the video, if there was maybe 1 or maybe 2 things I would change about this build, is taking off Elemental Charge and then getting rid of the Sidearm Loader and then using Taking Charge, because I was spawning a lot of Orbs of Power. I wasn't spawning as many Elemental Wells, so I think I might switch that, you know, after this video. I'm not sure. Another thing I might switch is maybe having just a little bit higher intellect, so that way, you know, it goes from, instead of having 8, maybe I have like 20 or 30, so I get that nice plus 50. It's around like 80, and that's like a nice even ground right there, nice middle ground, because then you're getting the super regen from Font of Wisdom, Mantle Battle Harmony, and all the other ways I'm generating super energy. But there you boys have it, a new Mantle Battle Harmony build. I can't wait for these legendary Stasis weapons to come into the game, if they are legendary. I really hope so, because then you're gonna get perks like Demolitionist or even Thresh on a Stasis weapon. Using that with Mantle Battle Harmony, oh my god, there's probably maybe going to be new perks that come next season with these Stasis weapons, so I'm very, very excited for that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below of this build. I'm really enjoying it, and I hope you guys do as well. But if you guys like this content, please like, subscribe, and share. It truly helps me out a lot. You can also check out my other videos. Links are in the description below. I have a lot of crazy builds, so go ahead and check that out. And you might as well follow my social media. I have a Twitter, Instagram, and a TikTok, all of them at @fat_bloonskis. So go ahead and hit that follow button. But with all that being said, deuces.